In this lecture, we will learn how to use rules in GitLab CI to control and specify when we want to create the pipeline. So here at the top of the CI CD pipeline configuration, we will add the workflow section. We will give a name to the workflow. We will call it, for example, CI CD pipeline. And here we can add the rules keyword to specify when we want to create the pipeline. Here we can use, for example, if to specify a condition. For example, we can say that we want to create and trigger the pipeline only if we commit changes to the main branch. So here we will use a predefined variable called CI commit branch. If it is equal to main, we want to create the pipeline, otherwise the pipeline will not be created. So now if we commit the changes to the main branch, the pipeline will be created, otherwise the pipeline will not be created. Here we will commit the changes to the main branch, so the pipeline should be created. So let's commit the changes. So now the pipeline is pending. If we refresh the page, now we see that the pipeline was created. And here we have the Docker stage with these 3 jobs. So let's cancel the pipeline. But now if we do some changes and commit them to a new branch, we will not see the creation of the pipeline. Okay? So for example, if we change the image version, and let's commit the changes, but this time we will commit the changes to a new branch. I will call it feature 1. So now we will commit the changes to this new branch, okay? To the feature 1 branch. So now pipeline was created, and we can verify that by going to pipelines. So here we don't see any new pipeline. That's because we have committed the changes to a new branch, which is the feature 1 branch. Let's go back now to the main branch. Here we can also write conditions using variables. So we can say here, for example, that we want to create the pipeline if the image name is equal to web app. Here we can also use the exists keyword. So we can say that we want to create the pipeline only if the image name is equal to web app and a file called Dockerfile exists. So now the pipeline will be created only if the image name is equal to web app and a file with this name, Dockerfile, exists in the repository. So now if we commit the changes, the pipeline will not be created because here the image name is equal to web app, but the Docker file doesn't exist. So let's commit the changes. So we will commit the changes to the main branch. So let's go to pipelines. So we didn't see any new pipeline. And that's because the Docker file doesn't exist. So if we go here to code, then repository, here we see that we have only two files, one called .gitlabci.yaml file for the configuration of the CI/CD pipeline and a README file. So we didn't have here a file called Docker file, but if we create the file, we should see the creation of a new pipeline. So we can add a file by clicking on this icon and then new file. So we will call this file Docker file and we will leave it empty. So let's commit the changes. So we want to commit the changes to the current main branch. So now we see the creation of a new pipeline. So here we see the execution of the pipeline. So it has only one stage, which is the Docker stage with these three jobs. So let's cancel the pipeline by clicking on this icon. We can add another condition. For example, here we can use the if or exists keyword, but here we will use the changes keyword to say that we want to create the pipeline if we change or if a specific file was changed. For example, we can say that we want to create the pipeline if the README file was changed. So now we have two conditions. GitLab will start by evaluating the first condition. If it is true, it will create the pipeline. Otherwise, it will move to the second one. So if it is true, it will create the pipeline. Otherwise, the pipeline will not be created. So here we will also change the image name. So we have also changed the value given to the image name variable. Now let's commit the changes. And if we go here to pipelines, so we didn't see any new pipeline created. And that's because the two conditions return false. So here the Docker file exists, but the value given to the image name is not webapp, it is webapp1. And the second condition also returns false because we didn't change the README file. That's why the pipeline was not created. Let's go now to the repository by going here to code and then repository. So we will change the README file. So I click here on edit and then edit single file. So here we will change the first message, which is GitLab CI core concepts, and we will add for beginners. So let's now commit the changes. We will commit the changes to the current main branch. So now we see that a new pipeline is created. So we have here the pipeline that was created, and here we have only one stage, which is the Docker stage with these three jobs. So the pipeline was created because we have changed the README file. So that's how we can use the rules keyword to control and to specify when we want to create the pipeline. In the next lecture, we will see how to include or exclude jobs using the rules keyword.